Welcome to ENG 303, Study Session 3, The Organization of Grammar in the Standard Theory. Introduction. There are different models of transformational grammar. These are the Standard Theory, the Extended Standard Theory, the Revised Extended Standard Theory, and the Minimalist Program. Each of these models has a distinct description of the way grammar is organized in the human brain. In this lecture, we look at the way grammar is organized in the Standard Theory. Objectives. At the end of this lecture, you should be able to 1. Explain how grammar is organized in the human brain. 2. Discuss the basic concept in the Standard Theory model. And 3. Explain the interrelationship many this concept. Pre-test. 1. What are phrase structure rules? 2. What are deep and surface structures? 3. What is transformation? 4. What is subcategorization? 5. What is S-selection? 6. What is the relationship between all these terms? Content. This section contains a detailed discussion of the workings of the grammar in the brain of an ideal native speaker of any language. It starts with a description of how the words are produced and woven together into phrases, and concludes with how they derive meaning and become pronunciable utterances. The organization of grammar in the Standard Theory. Initially, language was thought to be behavioral. This means that language is a kind of habit formation. However, Chomsky's view of language as an internalized system changed all that. Language is believed to inhere in human such that a native speaker of the language is able to use the language appropriately. To account for the language user's competence, Chomsky proposed a transformational generative grammar. This grammar is universal as it describes all languages. By the same token, the ideal native speaker is representative of all native users of different languages all over the world. The way the knowledge of language is organized in the mind of the ideal speaker is schematized in the following diagram. As the diagram shows, the syntactic component dominates all other components. For example, it encapsulates the other components generated by the base component and the transformational rules. The base component. The base component consists of the lexicon and the phrase structure rules. The lexicon is a repertoire of words that a language user has already acquired and which he uses in day-to-day interaction. Such words have distinct features such as grammatical category, phonological shape, meaning, and so on. These features are peculiar to each word and determine how they are used in a structure. For instance, a word determines which word should come before it or after it. Nouns, for example, can be preceded by a determiner, an adjective, a numeral, and post-modified by a prepositional phrase, an adverb. For example, the man outside. A transitive verb requires a complement. However, this depends on whether the verb is monotransitive, that is, requiring only one noun phrase object, or the transitive, requiring two noun phrases. This phenomenon of stipulating what categorical item is required by an entity is referred to as subcategorization frame. Consider the following examples. The verbs called and found as found in the above examples each co-occur with three nouns which act as object, direct object, and indirect object, respectively. For intransitive verbs, however, only the noun subject is required. Nevertheless, the verb may be followed by an adverbial as in the following. Subject, meox, verb, smiled. Subject, parasite, verb, rose. Adjunct, steadily. Subject, taubdippoa, verb, left. Adjunct, early in the morning. Subject, ebikeimo, verb, slept. Adjunct, in the class. Note that for intransitive verbs, the adverbial is optional. The information is technically represented in a subcategorization frame as in the following. Call, VT plus NP, NP. Left, VI plus dash ADVP. Kick, VT plus dash NP. Smiled, VI plus dash O slash. Leave, VT plus dash NP PP. The symbols VT and VI represent transitive and intransitive verbs respectively. The gap in the square brackets show the position occupied by the verb, and the elements to its right are those that are permitted to co-occur with the verb. We can thus compare the lexicon to the use of tiles in a crossword puzzle. When a player slots in the tablet in appropriate places, a correct word or image is formed. If, however, a wrong tablet is moved to a wrong position, the image is malformed, just as a wrong choice of a word in a sentence makes it ill-formed. This situation is very similar to the functioning of the lexicon in grammar. The peculiar features of each lexicon item are considered before they are inserted into a node within a structure, guided by the intended meaning of the structure and in conformity with selectional rules. Selectional rules. These rules regulate how words co-occur in a structure based on the contribution of the individual word to the overall meaning of the structure. A word which does not contribute to the overall meaning of a structure in a reasonable way makes the structure anomalous. Consider the following. A. The tree slapped the ant. B. The crab begged for mercy. These examples are barred by selectional restrictions in the grammar since they conflict with acceptable world knowledge. In the first example, only human beings can slap people or beg for mercy. Notice, however, that the sentences are perfectly grammatical. Notice too that such sentences are acceptable in the imaginary world of folk tales, fiction, legends, and so on. In syntax, the ordinary or plain meanings of words are assumed. Hence, those sentences above are considered anomalous. Phrase structure rules. The term phrase refers to a word or group of words that form a constituent. When structures are to be formed, a frame containing notes for the structure is first set. Words are then slotted into these notes following the phrase structure rules. These rules ensure that appropriate words are put in appropriate notes. Thus, phrases, clauses, and sentences are formed using sub-categorization frames of words and selectional rules. These rules ensure that the words in the structure form intelligible categories like NP, VP, ADVP, and so on, and they are not anomalous. Deep structures. The deep structure is the level at which the meaning of an expression is perfected. Lexical items occur in their logical positions and in their nominal logical order of occurrence in the sentence. For instance, the logical subject and object of verbs stays in their normal places prior to transformations. In addition, empty notes may occur in the structure for purposes of possible movement transformations. Transformational components. The transformational components consist of transformational rules which perform many functions like changing positive sentences to negative, that is negative transformation, moving an item from one position to another, WH/NP dash movement, and accounting for morphophonemic operations. Thus, transformations deals with specific movement or mega operations on items from the deep structure. Surface structure. The surface structure is the level at which the effect of transformation is felt. It is the product of all transformational activities in a structure. Whether mildly or drastically, transformations act on deep structure and change its form. The effect of transformations may be in the displacement of items in a structure or a merger of two items in the deep structure. Thus, the surface structure is a physical form in which a structure, that is, say, a word, a phrase, a clause, or a sentence, finally appears sequel to the application of transformational rules. Semantic component. Each structure is expected to have some meaning. This meaning is considered at the deep structure when words are being slotted into appropriate nodes. The semantic component is therefore related to the deep structure where meaning is allotted to the constituents in a structure. The selectional rules are also useful here as they bar anomalous structures. Hence, structures get accurate and intended meaning which can be understood by language users. That is a phenomenon called semantic interpretation. Phonological components. While semantic component derives from deep structure, phonological component derives from surface. It contains phonological rules that apply to the output of transformational processes. The phonological component works in making the expression in the surface structure suitable for pronunciation. Morphophonemic rules. Morphophonemic rules deal with the use of affixes in conjunction with verbs to convert the terminal strings to acceptable spoken forms of language. Thus, verbal affixes like past or present can be merged with main or auxiliary verbs through the morphophonemic rules to form intelligible firm forms. There are some examples. Verb play plus affix past. Play, affix present. Output suffix structure play. Verb show plus past affix. Output suffix structure showed. Sometimes more than one affix can be merged with a word within the verb phrase. For example, verb write, affix praise plus affix singular, write third person. Verb write, affix press, affix singular, output write other persons. Verb write plus affix press, affix plural, output suffix structure write. Verb sing, affix press, affix plural, output suffix structure sing. Verb sing, affix past, affix singular, output suffix structure sang. Verb wrote, affix past, affix plural, output suffix structure wrote. More of this will be discussed under phrase structure grammar analysis. Summary. In this lecture, we have explained the foundations of the standard theory. In subsequent sections, we shall discuss later modifications of the theory. However, for now, we shall discuss how transformational rules were used to derive structures from other, possibly basic structures in the standard theory. We have come to the end of the study section 3. Thanks for listening.